Hey there, and welcome to part 2 of the Scalyr Docker Agent training. In part 1, we went over basic configuration and setup of the Docker Agent. If you haven't seen it, the link is in the description. Now, let's take a look at some real-world examples. The next thing we're going to do is run a more realistic application. So the first thing that we're going to run here is just an Nginx container on port 880. Okay, and here we go. So we have the Nginx container working here. And if I back out of this, and I back out of this log file here, first of all, let's test to see if this is running. So there we go. We can see that this is running. I can curl some path here too. Not found, just generate some logs, generate some errors, generate some access logs, and if I search again, we can see I have a new log that just came in, which is weblog. And here we go, we can see the access logs that I did. We could also see the errors that I generated in the access log and in the error log. So one thing that we can also note is the parser is Docker. So if we wanted to change that, all we would have to do is attach a label. So let's bring down this container and then we'll bring it back up with a label. Okay. Okay, so now we can see that there's a label that we added here, which is parser equals access log, and then we have com.scalyr.config.log. This is an indicator that it's a Scalyr configuration, and then this is the particular configuration. And then this is the value that we're going to set. You can also view more about that in the docs. There's a very detailed explanation in the same doc that we were looking at. So if you go back to Docker, if you scroll down to configuring the Scalyr Agent Docker, we can see everything that we can set here. So this is the prime example of setting the parser as access log. And you could also set just key value pairs like attributes, sampling rules. You could rename the log file if you wanted, and then redaction rules as well. So now in this case, let's generate some more logs. So let's go to localhost 8080. And we can see the log that I just generated, and we can see the parser is access log. Now it's being parsed properly as well. So what that's going to enable, especially because it's Nginx and access logs, that's going to enable the web server dashboard. So now we can see data streaming into this web server dashboard, and if this was a live environment, these would also populate. So that was one container. Now let's do this for a set of microservices. So we're going to do a more real-world production example, and in this case, we're going to set up a mean stack. So that's going to be MongoDB, Express, Angular, and Nginx. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll just get out of this. Okay, so we just keep the agent here. And this is Docker Compose. So we're basically going to run Docker Compose on this Nginx YAML file and bring it up. So it's going to create the MongoDB, the Angular, and Express and Nginx containers, and we can see they're all up here. And what we can see here are the logs that are streaming directly here. Okay, so we just keep the agent here. And this is Docker Compose. So so we're basically going to run Docker Compose on this Nginx YAML file and bring it up. So it's going to create the MongoDB, the Angular, and Express and Nginx containers, and we can see they're all up here. And what we can see here are the logs that are streaming directly here. So this is a really prime use case for Scalyr right now, is because let's say there was an error or you wanted to see something that was going on here. It's kind of tricky without outputting this to a file or doing a multitude of different things to figure out kind of what's going on and to make sense of this. But these are also streaming to Scalyr almost in real time. So if I take a look at the log files here, now I can see that I have a different log for each one of these containers. So instead of everything being in just like this one stream, let's say I want to see what's going on in this mean Nginx log, I'm able to do that. Here we go. So now these are all aggregated nicely. And then now we're able to take advantage of the full Scalyr query language as well. Could do that. We can do regular expressions if we wanted to do that as well. And then as we interact with the system, that's when things start to become powerful. So let's just take a look at our Nginx logs here. And if we do livetail, and I go into the app, here we go. And let's see, do some database entries. We can see that this didn't work. And why didn't it work? Well, we can take a look at our logs and see. So now if we go back into our Nginx logs, we can see that there was a post to the API/users. So it's probably trying to write a user. We got a 502 at this register endpoint. Okay, so that's the access log. And then we can see in the error log kind of what's going on. So it's trying to post to this particular IP at port 4000. But this port for Express is 3000 actually. So that's the issue. So now we can just go back into Express and fix that. So let's just validate kind of my suspicion here. So if we go into the Express log, here we can see in the Express log that this is running on port 3000, and it's attempting to write here to port 4000. So that's a really good starting point. So let's go in and fix that. And we could see here that this was in fact changed. So all we would do is change it back. We can see that it's changed back now. So now we just run this again. We'll rebuild this, it'll take a second. So now that that rebuilt, now let's run our local host. And there we go. So that was the issue, and we were able to kind of diagnose that just through basic logging. There's just a lot more things that you can set up. and watch some of the other videos if you really want to get into some of those as well. This also works very nicely with Kubernetes and a multitude of other systems. So my name is Joel Mora, and if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or reach out to support@scalyr.com, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.